A 10K subscriber award for Woodworkers? Awesome! So, no, you're right. There is no official YouTube award for 10,000 subscribers, but hey, I'm pretty excited about it. So I think we're going to create a little celebratory play button. And since it's a wood shop, we're going to do it out of wood. And I think I'm back to one of my favorite woods, this red colored Paduke, to help us with this button. And it's pretty easy to find a graphic that you can use and insert that into some sort of a document so that you can send it off to the printer. And I wound up going with a different graphic that had a white background, and that worked out pretty well. So you have to be careful with some of these strong glues. I mean, I accidentally handed my wife a glue stick instead of a chapstick once. She's still not talking to me. And I used too much glue on this piece of paper, but I really needed it to stay in place. I mean, duh. That's what glue is for. But now stuck in place, I can start to cut a deep line into the center triangle with this wood carving knife. And that'll set the perimeter for when I start to use my other wood carving tools to gouge out that center. So now just moving over to the bandsaw, we'll try to cut as close to the edge here as possible, knowing that we're going to have to do a little trimming and sanding after the fact. And with my other wood carving tools, now that I've got that edge cut in the outside perimeter of the triangle, it's easier to gouge out the wood without doing any damage to that edge because of that initial knife cut. And because I could not peel this paper off, I wound up using some acetone just brushed on top of the paper. It soaks in pretty quickly. It loosens up the adhesive, and then it comes right off. The next step was to mix up a little epoxy, and I'm using the same material that we used for our cedar canoe build we did midsummer last year. And I'm going to mix up this epoxy with a little white mica powder, and it's got some pearlescent shimmer in it as well when it mixes with the epoxy, so it's going to be bright white and it's going to work out pretty well. And now putting some painter's tape on the edge just to keep it from overflowing onto the wood. We'll just put in a little bit at a time, and we're going to have to use a popsicle stick and make sure that it gets into the corners. But otherwise, this is going to take roughly 48 hours to completely cure. About the same amount of time it took to cure me of my hangover from New Year's Eve 2000. Oh. And so now when it's completely cured, I wound up getting a little bit of leakage underneath a couple of the tape edges, but that's okay. It tended to sand off pretty easily. It didn't go that deep. It was pretty thin on the surface. And I don't show it on camera, but we did quite a bit of sanding to get it rounded off and nice and smooth. And this is my fourth coat of clear gloss lacquer, which really gives this play button a fantastic shine. And I really do want to say thanks again to all of our subscribers. You guys are fantastic. I also wanted to take a second and talk about YouTube's video analytics. And I can tell that it's our subscribers that when they watch our videos, they always stick around to the end. And that's going to be important today. Now we've got new visitors as well, and they're always welcome to join our channel. But typically we see traffic drop off after roughly 3 to 4 minutes of video time. So this is bonus footage for our subscribers. So in addition to our little video play button, I also decided to pull out a couple chunks of thicker material. This is about 1 7/8 inches thick. And I had a wonderful little block in that same red Paduke, but also this block of Babinga. Now this is the Paduke, and I'm trying to get this cut into little discs on the bandsaw, but the bandsaw really left some pretty deep tooth marks all through the cut. So then I tried the Babinga out on the table saw, And this is a 60-tooth trim blade on the table saw, and it's almost as smooth as if I had sanded it. It will be a lot more wasted material because of the thickness of the saw blade, but I'll take the clean cut every time. And with these two cylinders, I was able to cut quite a few of these 1 7/8 inch discs. Now, as nice a job as the 60-tooth blade did, there was still a little bit of jagged edge on a couple of these. So each one of them I sanded off the circular edges by hand and then ran them across some sandpaper on the table just to make sure they were completely smooth. When it comes to projects like this, do you know what really burns my arse? Well, a propane torch and a branding iron, for sure. So you've got to be careful when you're working with this kind of heat. And I moved everything outside because I kept setting off the smoke detector inside the shop. But with this little jig set up using these 1, 2, 3 steel blocks, I'm able to corner my branding iron and center it on top of each one of these discs, and it worked out really well. I also noticed that the branding iron needed to be hotter for the Babinga, but it wound up burning pretty easily on the Paduke. Now back inside the shop, I set up another simple little cornering jig on my drill press so that I could punch the hole in the same location for each one of the discs. And then it just became a production line. Pretty easy to get this part done. And then the last step, I found this craft set of keychain assemblies out on the internet. And if I can find it again, I'll put a link down in the comments section. But it included these D-rings, which then I could clasp into the hole that I drilled in each one of the discs. And now I've got a handy little keychain. In fact, I've got 50 handy little keychains. So as my way of offering a sincere thank you to our subscribers, especially for sticking around to the end of the video, I've got 50 and only 50 of these cool little keychains to give away for free. And so whether you think about using it as a keychain or as maybe a decoration on a backpack, or even some way to help identify your luggage at the airport and separate it from everybody else's, please go out to the video description and scroll down, and you'll find instructions on how to get one of these. First come, first serve. But thanks, everybody. I appreciate you being a subscriber.